and welcome to Drachenwald Files and Fika with your fellow Drachenwalder. And today we are speaking with a lovely gent from Insulae Draconis. Please introduce yourself with your correct name and title.
Hey, I'm Lord Ranulf Norreis. That's the whole title, I guess. That's my whole name and title. I don't even have a last name really. I'm pre-last names in terms of persona.
So, what is your first really good memory of the SCA? How did you get started in this and what got you hooked?
Huh. Well, that's actually a really good question because so I kind of like ping-ponged off of the SCA for quite a long time. When I was, do you want the whole backstory?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. Well, settle in. So I think I was about 16 years old, and I was in my high school library, doing some kind of school project or something like that. I mean, I can't even remember what I was working on now. And I had a friend, Patrick, and he came running in, and he was like, "Hey, you have to hear about this." And one of his friends from a different high school had started up a local Boffer LARP group. In the States, it's kind of a big group. It's called Dagger here. It's reasonably large, I guess. And they had started a local group, and so I started doing that. So my very first persona ever of all time was an elf, and because I was the tallest person in the group, and they just sort of mandated that I had to be the elf. So I did that for 2 or 3 years, and then I left the area and I kind of fell out of it. But while I was doing it, there were some other people that also did the same LARP, kind of like there are here in England, like SCA people who do other LARPs and stuff like that. And they always talked up the SCA. There's almost a perception that it was like the major leagues, maybe, of medieval reenactment kind of stuff in the United States. And so I always thought it sounded really cool, but I wasn't sure I was ready to get hit with rattan quite yet. And also it seemed expensive, and I didn't have that kind of money at the time. And then I sort of bounced off of it a few more times here and there, like as I sort of got stationed different places around the world. A lot of times I would like run into small SCA groups, and they would be like, "Oh, our last fighter just left, or he's about to leave, they're going to leave in like 2 or 3 months," and stuff like that. And so I kind of forgot about it for a while. And then I was back in Indiana on vacation, and one of my friends from Dagger here was like, "Hey, you should come out to SCA practice if you're going to be like in town for a while." And so I went out a couple times to the SCA practice of the Barony of Sternfeld in the Middle Kingdom. And they got me all set up in, the plastic loner gear. And I felt like I looked like I was right out of a Mad Max movie, but I had the time of my life. I mean, I had a really good time. I had missed that kind of like combat-y type interaction. And so I did that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they were very generous. They sold me some kind of like cast off stuff that was in their loaner kit that needed some like tender loving care, some TLC, for about $50. And I had my first helmet, and I mean, I had everything out of that, and I had to strap some stuff and things like that. But so I got a real cheap start. So I was very fortunate in that respect.
Yeah, because armor normally doesn't come that cheap.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even if you have to, put some elbow grease into it, usually it's more expensive. So they were very kind. Shout out to the Barony of Sternfeld. They really helped out a new guy. And then I moved over here to England, and that was just almost the first thing I did. I looked up the local CA group and got in touch with Baron Nicholas, who's the seneschal at the time, and the rest is magical history, I guess.
Yeah, and magical history we will continue talking about. So how long has it been since you moved to England? How long have you played in Drachenwald?
So I have been in Drachenwald since February of 2017. And I think I went to my first Drachenwald practice, which is really when I count starting SCA stuff from, because I was real bad at the first couple practices at the mid realm, and I don't really feel like I learned anything, but other than just what it feels like to get hit. But yeah, so I sort of count really starting the SCA from March of 2017, because that's when I showed up at my first fighter practice, and I guess didn't embarrass myself so much I never went back. So that was good.
That's good. So what is keeping you in society? I mean, listening to you, I'm reading in that fighting is a big part of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, so I am just a very competitive kind of guy, and so when I wasn't doing sort of like medievally reenactment or LARP kind of stuff or whatever, I've got a long history in judo as well, and I've done, okay, I'm 34. I've done about 12 years of judo, which is also like a competitive sport if you go to tournaments and stuff like that. I just really love tournaments, and I really like one-on-one tournaments because I guess you could say that really my success or failure hinges on me. I'm not really a great team sports guy. I like melees, but I really love tournaments, and yeah, and so I like that. But what I also like too is there's kind of a sense of like heightened reality at SCA events, I think, that you can achieve sometimes. And it's probably a little bit easier over here in Drachenwald, where of course there's like castles and old manor houses and stuff like that. But I've been to some events here. In particular, I think of Spring Crown in 2018, which they had at Ingestra Hall here in Insulae Draconis. And from the outside, it's quite a beautiful, like sort of 16th, 17th century building, very plausibly in SCA period. On the inside, of course, it's quite a bit more modern. I mean, there's a lot of like 18th century portraits and, of course, electric lighting and stuff like that. And it's real large. And so you can't cover all that stuff up. But nevertheless, I think like it, just at courts and sometimes just interacting with people, you really do achieve sort of a sense of, I guess, kind of heightened reality, something magic.
Something magic. I think that is what we usually call the dream. Like we have the light and the good parts of history, when we kind of like we can actually sort of experience. And I agree with you. I mean, we don't always have events in Drachenwald in big castles and big mansions. Sometimes you have it in smaller places and quite modern too, and you can still kind of feel it gets this little feeling when everybody's sitting there in their garb and you're eating good food and you're having good drinks and so on.
And that's really, to me, so like I said, I'm quite a competitive guy and I really enjoy fighting. I mean, I love it, and I really loved doing judo and stuff like that, but there's just something extra in SCA that really it makes it something that you can't, that I've never seen replicated anywhere else. I mean, I don't want to say you can't, but I definitely haven't seen it anywhere else. I also think of the Torchlight tournament at the last Raglan, Raglan 2019, because 2020 was such a horrible year. But the Torchlight tournament, for those who weren't there, came in the middle of just like a downpour. I mean, the rain was just insane. And but people kept fighting. People kept fighting up until the point where it was no longer safe footing. So shout out to the marshals, who were looking out for that stuff. But I mean, that was magical. You can't get that doing any sort of modern sport or anything like that. And that's what I really think, takes SCA fighting to like the next level, above and beyond.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fighter, but I love watching fighting, and I was there and seeing people having so much fun, being so into the game. It was pouring rain, and like you said, it was up to a certain point when you had to shut it down because it was not safe anymore. Um, but regardless of the rain and the wind, I mean, we had a storm coming.
Yeah, it was a crazy storm. I mean,
It
that
was
Raglan
crazy.
had to close a day early because of the storms coming through.
Mm-hmm.
But while it lasted, I mean, it was really cool. So that's and like you say, I mean, that's what I really love about the SCA. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that it does for, I guess, you, the participant or whatever, that you can't get in kind of more mundane activities.
So, um, what have you been doing? I mean, we will get into the horrible pandemic, sadly, because that is kind of ruling our life right now. It's been a really
Mhm.
shitty year. Thank God it's over.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been like 8 months, something like that, with no events and so on. How have you handled the SEA during this pandemic? If you have handled it at all, have you participated in anything online, or have you been able to keep up small fighter practices locally?
Yeah, so I'm the marshal here in my shire, locally, the Shire of Flint Heath. And it was really tough right out of the gate. Um, Fortunately, unfortunately, we had the pre-example of like what had gone on in China, where they had just like closed down a whole city. And so I was not like totally mentally unprepared for the possibility of that first lockdown here in the spring here in the United Kingdom. So I had thought a little bit about what we might do, and despite having sort of tried to pre-plan a little bit, I don't think I pulled it off super well. But so initially, so I knew we were going to move to some kind of virtual practice, but I had never done that before. I had no idea what it was going to look like. I didn't really know what I was going to do. So a virtual practice initially was just a matter of me shooting like YouTube videos, and putting them up on our Shire Facebook page, like, hey, look at this YouTube video. Here I am standing in front of my Pell. And, maybe this is like some kind of suggestion. You could like follow along if you wanted to, kind of stuff. So that was like the first couple weeks. But while I was doing that, I also put together a Discord server for our Shire. And I think after about 2 weeks, I discovered that on Discord, you could share video, or you could do like a screen sharing thing, kind of like Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, we started to do screen shared fighter practice on our Discord. And what we would do is we would go look at videos of much better fighters than us. So I would just go hunt during the week, like YouTube videos of crown tournaments and different, or like coronet tournaments, chivalric champions tournaments at Pinsick and things like that. Or even just, there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube. They're just like, His Royal Highness so and so fights His Grace so and so at blah 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 barony practice, And I was like, hey, perfect. Clearly, both of these are good fighters. We'll see what they're doing. And so we would watch those videos and we kind of pick them apart. And that was something that I was pretty used to from judo, just watching tape of tournaments and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, or tape of your own self, and trying to improve and stuff like that. And so we did that for the duration of the entire first lockdown. And anytime we have like another lockdown, or just a situation here in the United Kingdom where the rules make it not possible to have a fighter practice, we just revert straight back to virtual fighter practice, and it is probably not everybody's favorite thing, but it's a good way to try and stay in touch, and to, I guess, like keep our hand in the game.
Yeah.
Uh, when we're not doing virtual fighter practice, when the rules are such that we are able to get together in small groups, we do a regular fighter practice in Baron Nicholas's back garden, which is large enough to fit everybody. And so I worked together with Lady Anya's, the Insulae Draconis Principality Marshal. and her and also Kernak. Don't let me forget His Excellency Kernak, Viscount Kernak. And we put together a health and safety document to allow people to return to fighting and fencing practice, within the bounds of the rules set by their like various governments. Because as you know, here in Insulae Draconis, we cover multiple countries and multiple devolved governments and stuff like that. And so there's quite a lot of like, if this is okay in England, is it going to be okay in Scotland? Is it going to be okay in Ireland? And so forth. And I think we did the best we could, and that went up through, His Highness Prince Avery, and I believe all the way up through the Crown and the Kingdom Seneschal.
I think even I have seen this document since I am on the mundane board for Nordmark, the Principality of Nordmark.
Okay.
And we talk a lot about, safety documents and stuff like that. I think even I have seen these kinds of documents, and I think they're very good. And listening to you, I realize I have never even thought about that. We know that Drachenwald has, I don't know how many countries we are covering.
Yeah, tons.
Tons. So that makes our kingdom, I think it's kind of like our kingdom and Lochark, that was like two countries. We have a very special country, since we're not just, one town or one country. I have never thought about that actually Insulae Draconis. Nordmark, Principality of Nordmark is just Sweden.
Yeah.
And covers the whole of Sweden. That is one country. Insulae Draconis have several. You have Ireland, like you said, Ireland, England, Scotland, and Iceland, right?
Iceland, yep. Iceland is the other one. Yeah.
So I have never thought about that. You have a principality with several different countries in it. That's a very special situation.
It is, yeah. And I think everyone handled it really well. It's kind of a downer because in normal times it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. During the pandemic, I know it's been kind of a downer for people because there is a lot of question. Eventually we're going to have another crown tournament. We're going to have another coronet and stuff, but it does hinge on what the rules are going to be like for a lot of countries. Drachenwald for crown tournament, Insulae Draconis for coronet, and I can imagine even in Sweden, if they have different like levels of lockdowns or whatever, it's just.
Yeah, we do. So Sweden is a really, really big country, very long country. Sweden is as long as the rest of Europe. We're not that wide, but we're very long. So for me to travel up to the northern part of Nordmark will take me by car 15 to 16 hours.
Yeah.
So we also have, even if we also have different kind of lockdown situation. We don't have a lockdown in Sweden as you have in Insulae Draconis due to our mundane laws, but still, we do have restrictions, and we do have it in separate areas, but we also have to think about that if somebody 15 hours car ride travels down to my place, we don't normally hang out, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there is a huge risk of spreading stuff. So you have to take your own responsibility there and not do stuff. And it's I know that both Insulae Draconis and Nordmark right now have that problem, like the coronet tournament. How do we keep it safe and still let people participate? You want to have a coronet tourney where people actually have a fair chance of participating, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to exclude anyone by accident, basically,
No, exactly. So I think we are all struggling a little bit with that, and I do hope that this will be easier during summer, but we'll see. Do you have any future plans for participating in events further on that you hope we can't say that we know it will happen, but we hope that they will happen?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always look forward to participating in fighting events or like heavy fighting kind of oriented events. They have a fantastic one in Ireland in Dunamara every year. Unfortunately, it was canceled this year, but I know it's been rescheduled for next year. I'm not a great pronouncer, so I might butcher it, but Corinna, I think, is the sort of a pretty good approximation of what it's called. Fantastic event, really good. I look forward to doing it every year. It's sort of like a fighting camp. I'm really looking forward to going to Raglan again this year. Hopefully, as many crowns and coronets as I can get to. I do have a son. I have like a 9-year-old son, so sometimes it's a little difficult to travel across Europe to get to stuff. But I make an effort. I try to get to as much as I can, and Raglan, Corinna. I really want to go to Double Wars. I meant to go to this year. I was planning on going to Double Wars, and it didn't really pan out, obviously.
No, and how it looks like right now, it's not going to be a huge Double Wars this year, but next year for 2022.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hope, because I do think that you will like it. It's a lot of fighting, and it's a lot of different kinds of fighting. We have so many different tournaments.
I
mean, we do have 3 really large camping events, and that's Raglan, Double Wars, and Cudgel.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, and I want to go to Cudgel too. I also want to go to Cudgel. I just want to go to everything. That's my problem.
Well, hopefully there will be time. Hopefully there will be, I don't think these events are going anywhere. I think it's just they are on hold right now because of the world's situation, but they will come again. Cudgel is one of my favorite events because it's really soft. I mean, they have. I'm a sauna gal, so they have 3 saunas. They have a lake. So after a day doing stuff, you can just sit and hang on the porch to the sauna, having a beer and chilling.
Yeah, perfection. That's the chef's kiss of hanging out. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's look forward to that. Speaking about other things than fighting, is there any craft that you are doing within the SCA, and is there a craft that you want to try but never tried?
So I am not crafty at all. I am not the artistic one in my family. I have like a little bit of mechanical skill or whatever, occasionally fix stuff. With great effort, I have learned how to fix my own armor, although it never really looks very beautiful or anything like that, but it works, which is great. As far as crafts go, let's see here. Well, I've tried my hand a little bit at calligraphy, and I think it was adequate for something personal, something that I would just make for myself or whatever. But I don't really think it was very good for other people. What happened was at the last coronet here in Insulae Draconis, the one that His Highness and Her Highness Avery and Zoe won. That was done by Viscount Duncan. He asked that everyone who was going to partake bring like an art or a science, and I sort of racked my brain because I'm not very artsy, and I decided that I would just make like a letter requesting his leave to partake in his great tournament, and it took a long time, but I think it came out pretty all right. So that's it. That's my like one great artistic effort, and I think it was adequate, which is not amazing. But I tell you what, I'm always amazed by how much work and effort and just skill clearly goes into scrolls, illuminations and calligraphy and stuff like that. I mean, the people that make those really make something beautiful for other people. And I think that's it's so awesome. And I've tried my hand at it, and I know it's really tough. So, if I really buckled down and worked at it, I'm sure I would get a lot better. I always tell people like, hey, all humans are pretty similar. We're bad at stuff before we're good at stuff.
Exactly.
Just got to work at it. But
and I mean, it's it's all a matter of time. Some people when you see the amazing scrolls, they didn't start there. They start with the wiggly, scrawny letters that looks like crow's feet.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you have to put in time. But then you have to have an interest to put in time in it. And if you don't have that interest, why do it? I mean,
Yeah.
things that we do in the society should be fun, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
So do
totally agree.
stuff because you think it's fun. And if fighting is what you think is fun, then you should do it. If you had a magical power that you could take into the SEA, what kind of magical power would you have?
Oh, it's like a superpower, I guess.
Yeah, like a superpower, like being invisible or
Well, I'm a fighter, so I guess I would have to pick super speed. It's the fights wouldn't last very long, I guess, if they can't see you swinging.
no.
But I guess that would be the one. Other than that, it would be handy. So that would be like the one that would be most selfishly direct for me. But it would be handy for just general SCA use is how some superheroes have like sonic powers.
Mm-hmm.
They're loud. Man, that would be handy. Can you imagine how handy it would be if just one person had to yell at everybody at the same event or whatever? You wouldn't
Oh
have to
God,
send kids around to like the word.
I haven't even thought about that. As a herald, you just know everybody will
Yeah,
hear you. Excellent.
exactly. Just stand in the middle.
You just stand
But
and everybody here.
yeah, if I had a genie who demanded that I had to be generous to other people, that's what I would pick.
If you were a drink, what kind of drink would you be?
Oh, well, the drink I'm most currently made up of is sparkling water. Drink a lot of sparkling water, lime flavored sparkling water. So if I was physically defined by that, it probably lime sparkling water. But if I was an alcohol of some variety, some kind of like ale or something like that. I mean, I feel sometimes like I'm kind of generic. Like I'm a very generic American. So probably like kind of like an ale or something like that. A comfort drink. Yeah.
A comfort drink. I
Yeah.
like it. What is your last really magical moment in the SEA? What was the last time that you felt that you were speaking about it before that feeling?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say we actually kind of hit it already. It was the 2019 Raglan Torchlight tournament. I would say that was the one that most directly for me was magical. I mean, that's hard to describe. I mean, just you could see like the rain like flying off of people's swords and stuff like that. As they were swinging, and I mean, it just was just super cool. Just amazing. It was one of those times where you're like almost you feel like time has slowed down,
Mm.
because you're having such a good time or whatever. So I would say that's definitely number one. I guess most recently though, I had a really great time at the last Coronet tournament. That Prince Avery and Princess Zoe won. That had some really great fights, and they were really fantastic and just really, I think, were magical. And one of the things that I kind of meant to mention or whatever was there's just another level to SCA fighting. When I was doing judo for years and years, no one ever tells the judge like, no, my throw wasn't any good. And like that never happens. No one ever does that. Even if they're like, man, I don't know if that was a very good throw, but like they said, I'm the winner. I'm the winner. Whereas in SCA fighting, and I'm really focused during it. I mean, I'm not really thinking about a whole lot other than just winning. But at the same time, there's another level of chivalry, where you have to win right.
Mm-hmm.
You can't win in a way that disgraces you or dishonors you or your consort. And that makes every fight magic, if you ask me.
I think that is in heavy fighting, I mean, when you try to explain heavy fighting and show pictures of heavy fighting to people that aren't from the SCA, they usually ask if the marshal is the judge. And I try to explain that you can't really have a judge in heavy fighting because it's more or less impossible to see and hear if that blow was good or not. You have to feel it. Do you think that has something to do with this? I mean, we do have the chivalry, but also the feeling of you can't walk out of a game knowing you didn't win fair because it's not on the judge, it's on you. It's only
Yeah, I mean, I think the magic of heavy fighting and what makes every fight magic to me is that you can't walk away. You definitely can't walk away and feel like the judges cheated you. Which I mean, I've been on the receiving end of that before in judo, and that never feels good. But by the same token, you can't walk away and feel like maybe you won unfairly or something like that, or you won in a way that makes you sort of question whether you should have or whatever. I mean, and I guess I'm not saying that's impossible. I mean, I know people will skirt the rules or whatnot sometimes, but I've never run into that personally in the SCA. Every fight that I've had has always been just fantastic with people of honor who are trying to be of great honor, and it's fantastic. You just can't beat it. I love it.
So what is your favorite tournament style? What is your favorite rules of the list?
Rules of the list. I'm a simple man. I just really appreciate one-on-one type of stuff. One-on-one, any sort of fighters' preferred weapons, I guess you might say. I would say that I most prefer things that are sort of like round robin variations. One that I think is really fun, even if it's not necessarily my favorite, is what they call the Canterbury list here in Insulae Draconis. I'm not sure if it has the same name other places, but they tend to break everybody out into, if you have a lot of people, you split it up into kind of smaller groups. But if you had about maybe say 8 fighters in a tournament, one person takes the field and they hold the field against all 7 other fighters in one go, and then they go back to the back of the line and they'll fight every other fighter one more time, but they cycle through. So everyone gets a chance to hold the field. One thing that I like about that is that it gives people the opportunity to kind of show what they can do as their endurance drops, just like with everything, the third fight in a like a best of 3, frequently sort of indicates like who's got heart, I guess, who's really got will to keep fighting well and stuff like that, and by the same token, going through 7 fights in a row at a tournament pace, is, it's pretty cool.
So what are your favorite weapons? Is it sword and shield or is it?
Yeah, I'm a sword and shield guy. Once in a while I break out a 2-handed weapon like a pole arm or a great sword or whatever, but I'm almost a pure sword and shield guy. I use a center grip shield style. I kind of flop back and forth between shapes of the shield. I've got a circle, kind of like a Viking round shield. I've got an oval shield. I have a kind of a triangular kite type center grip. I just sort of transition from shield style to shield style depending on kind of how I feel on the day. And yeah, for like bigger fighting or like melees or whatever, sometimes I'll break out like a 2-handed sword or a pole arm or something like that. But yeah, pretty much straight sword and shield guy.
So a center shield, that's when you kind of like hold it like this and you have the shield here. And then you have the shield where you kind of like strap your arm and you work with it like this. Okay. Just so both me and the people listening know what we are talking about. People that are not fighters.
And the reason I really like center grip shields is because I I have kind of a fighting style that features a lot of like unusual body contortions, I guess, and so I often find myself throwing a shot over here while I'm doing this with my shield over here, which you can't really do with a strapped shield as
Is
well.
that from your judo background, perhaps, that you're like very bendy and?
I think that I just don't like to get hit. I found that the best solution is to not be in the way of the shot, which frequently requires me to get real bendy. But really, so judo might have contributed somewhat, but more than anything, I think it was the LARP stuff from when I was a kid, just my very first time ever, doing quote unquote medieval fighting or medieval style fighting was pretty heavy on the like body contortions, so, and that's just a style I've never gotten away from. Sometimes I'm like, I'll be at practice or tournaments or whatever, and I'll be like, no, Ranulf, like just stand here, block this guy's shot or this lady's shot, and hit them in the side of the head, and I don't. I wind up doing some kind of weird body contortion and regret it, and I get hit. So,
well, it's again, I guess, some measurements of practice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all about just practicing.
Yeah. So I usually ask about the favorite events, but I guess for you, it's just anything that has fighting.
Yeah. I mean, I do have a favorite. I think my favorite is Raglan. Of course, it has fighting contained in it. But I tell you what, I mean, and that's kind of the thing about Double Wars, like I was saying, I'm sure I would love it as a fighter, but I totally get why you as a not fighter love it too, because I just like camping and hanging out also, and, Raglan is like the prime camping and hanging out event, for here in Insulae Draconis. So that combines both of my favoriteest things in the whole world, camping, hanging out, having some beers, and fighting, as well. So that's definitely my favorite.
And for me, it's so hard to choose a favorite event between Raglan, Double Wars, and Cudgel, because Raglan has a real castle.
Yeah, that is a good selling.
That is a good selling point. It has magical fights within those castle walls. And it's just, the beautiful Wales. And again, sitting and camping, that's kind of the same for all three of them. Then we have Double Wars. They have hot tubs.
Yeah, which is, that's a good selling point.
Wood-fired hot tubs. That is just so amazing. And then you have Cudgel with the 3 saunas and lake. So it's like, I guess I have to go to all 3 of them.
Yeah, and not to sell short either the people that make those events so great. Obviously Double Wars has all of my great brethren from Nordmark, brothers and sisters and so forth, siblings, and of course Arna Metza running Cudgel Wars and putting that on, and they're all great people there in Arna Metza, so I just love you guys so much.
Oh yeah, I think I would make a toast for that.
Yes, yeah,
for if I had all the autocrats that keeps working hours and hours and hours for us to be able to enjoy events.
Yeah. So I put on a very small event here in our local shire in 2019, multi-day Shire Day. I told you I'm not creative. That was the only that was the best name I could come up with it. And it was like it was bare bones, and it was bare bones intentionally. I mean, it's not because I was like a horrible failure, but it was intentionally bare bones. And it went on for 3 days, and we had a field to camp in, the medieval tithe barn to hang out in the evening if people wanted to, which was really nice and fantastic. And not really much of a schedule. I mean, it was like bring your own food, find your own activities to do, just get with other people and see what you want to do. So it was almost like a solely camping and hanging out event. And it was so complicated. Like, let me tell you, it was such a complicated thing to put together. And I mean, I feel like in my life, I've put together some complicated projects, but being an autocrat, even at that like just the bare bones level was a lot of work, you know. So any event, I am always super grateful to the people who are organizing it and putting on, the stewards and the autocrats and the cooks and everyone else who's involved, because so much work goes into that, and so much of it is behind the scenes,
Yeah.
and it's hard to immediately appreciate it as just a guest. But having done even the tiniest version of it, thank you to everyone who does those. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We have a lot of really hardworking people in Drachenwald,
yeah,
and I do hope that they get help, uh, and that people like you, that you can do a small event,
yeah,
uh, and if you want to do it again, ask for help. You need
yeah, yeah. That
so
was almost the first lesson I learned was, yeah, ask for help. So big shout out to everyone in my shire who helped me with that, and also Viscount Yannick, Order of the Pelican, you know, who was just fantastic with advice and helping out and making sure we had enough toilet paper. On the topic of toilet problems, yeah, had he not been on hand with an emergency supply of toilet paper, we would have had some real problems. So
You are not the first autocrat that says this. I mean, there
yeah,
has been toilet paper gate during a lot of events where people have, like, are they eating it? But no, it's just that it always goes, it always takes more than you think
yeah.
it does.
It does, yeah. Assume you'll need twice as much as you think, and then probably bring twice as much as that, and maybe you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would definitely say, so obviously, as we've said, I mean, like I'm almost entirely a fighter, you know, but definitely for people like me who are really like, oh, I just fight and fight and fight, definitely volunteer, you know, help out, you know, and just do anything to get a feel for all the work that people are doing to make it possible for us to get together and pretend to be lords and ladies and knights and dukes, you know, fighting. So
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, I think that is, wow, we have spoken almost an hour. Um, I think that is a really good note to end on this interview on. Thank you so much for participating. I do hope that we can meet in real life soon
yes,
at an event, sitting there on a sauna porch, having a beer. That would be excellent. But for now, take care and stay safe and healthy.
yeah, same, thank you, same to you too, same to everyone who watches. Yeah, stay safe and healthy. I want to meet everyone again, you know, and if you know you don't stay healthy, I can't, so that would be a real bummer.
Exactly.
um, yeah, I look forward to meeting you again in real life, hopefully soon. Get your vaccine,
Yes.
everybody.
Get the vaccine. Cheers.
Yep. All right. Well, have a good evening. I guess it's headed towards kind of late afternoon, evening there in Sweden. So enjoy your evening, enjoy
Yeah,
your holidays, the rest of the New Year season, and hopefully I'll see you soon.
absolutely.